All right, so one of the benefits of working for an insurance company is that your coworkers are medical professionals, and I was able to run everything I am about to tell you past a medical professional. And there's two things you're going to get away from this video. Is one, their take on the matter, because last week I posted a video of Renee Esquerdo and Kevin Lowe, who are two virtuoso classical guitar players, talking about the idea of learning to feel your own body. And for those of you who are musicians watching this, we're getting into some of the areas of Alexander technique and Feldenkrais and body mapping. For those of you that aren't, the closest analogy that I can think of for regular people would be like weightlifting. We're gonna describe what it is that makes you feel tired after you've gone for a hike or carried your baby for a long period of time, or what causes failure when you're weightlifting. And one of the challenges of this book is you have medical professionals who are either not musicians or they're never virtuosos because too busy being a medical professional. And then you have medical professionals who virtuosos and musicians who do not know medical language. So you're always trying to communicate between these two parties. Fortunately, my guitar teacher knows a little bit of medical language because there are other texts that are thinking this way that are guitar related that have been released that my guitar teacher is familiar with. Now, for myself, I'm dive deep into this subject. So relative to my guitar teacher, I just have mastered the subject in a way that he hasn't in terms of the medical language to describe how we move. And so there's a challenge of communicating between the two parties. Basically, I ran everything I'm about to tell you past a medical professional, and they said, yeah, this all makes sense. I think you're headed in the right direction. So the first thing is you hear virtuosos talk about tension a lot. And so we're going to define what that is. So think of your muscles as like an accordion. When the accordion contracts, it pulls a rope attached to the accordion, and that's a tendon. And that's kind of how muscles work. And the feeling that you have when you hold your child for a long period of time, you bench press, you go for a hike, that muscular fatigue, that is what the virtuosos are referring to as tension. It's the feeling of your body. It's called proprioception. It's your body's feeling of muscular exertion. And you can experience this if you hold your arms up for a long time, especially with something heavy, eventually in your upper back, because the muscles that operate on the joints are always behind. So this joint here and this joint here, they're the same thing, opposite sides of the body. The muscles are going to be in the upper, like shoulder up here, and in the upper back that pull your arms out. And so if you hold up here long enough, you're going to feel some exertion in those areas and some fatigue. And the other analogy that I think is helpful is what I call the drawbridge to the castle. So the gears that lift the drawbridge up are the bicep, and then they're attached to the chains, which are the tendons, and then the forearm is the bridge. And as that muscle contracts like the accordion, it pulls that drawbridge up to the castle. There's also, in this case, there's always what's called antagonists. So that's the triceps. They're on the opposite side. It's the same with the fingers. There's ones that pull it in and pull it out. They're up here for pulling it out, down here for pulling it in. And when you're going in this direction, the triceps are supporting. And when you're going back down, there's two things you can do. You can either let it fall with gravity, or you can use a combination of gravity and the tricep to slowly lower it back down. So when it's going back up, the triceps are supporting the movement. When it's coming back down, the triceps are pulling in addition to gravity. And this matters because one of the things the virtuosos are doing is, when your wrist goes up like this, because you hold it up like this, gravity is what's brought the wrist down like this. As you tip it to bring it to the guitar, the wrist gets aligned with the forearm through gravity. Now, the last thing I want to say is last week when I posted a video of Renee and Kevin and I talking, it was about tension and the feelings of tension. We mentioned Alexander technique. And for those of you with a musical background, we're kind of getting to a more scientific version of Alexander technique and Feldenkrais as I know it. There may well be people talking about similar things that I'm not aware of. Just what I know of Alexander technique and Feldenkrais today and body mapping, I'm trying to be more articulate and precise in a certain way. And basically that muscular exertion, that feeling of muscular fatigue is what guides the virtuosos. So for example, if you're going to press the strings into the guitar in order to create sound, the amount of force you exert is guided by basically kind of two things. One, does it sound the way you want it to, which in the case of virtuosos is kind of based off their own ear and intuition and hearing other great players and trying to imitate that. And then two, how does it feel? meaning that, I'm going to use the finger to press into the soundboard. If I'm doing a really big motion, you're going to feel, and you can feel this yourself, just kind of feel your body all around here as you do like really big finger movements, and then as you shorten it. And so basically what they're doing all the time is they're trying to get the sound they want with the motion they want, and they're using that feeling and muscular exertion to refine and guide the motion. And if you get a good quality tone that projects with a big full sound, and you have very little muscular exertion, and you're feeling that, you're feeling the least amount of muscle exertion possible to get that sound, it's like a triangulation that gets you to where you need to go. And I ran this past the virtuosos, and I ran this past the medical professionals, and everybody's saying, yeah, you got it, and this makes sense. So that's the post for today. Cool.